Okay, welcome to our latest video, and in this one I'm going to try and pass on the experience we've gained from over 25 years of dealing in second-hand boats and repairing them. Our tips about how to actually go about looking at a boat when you're first going to think, is it worth buying? And particularly aimed at the people that really don't know a lot about sailing themselves. Quite often parents buying a laser or another boat for a youngster in their family who's got into sailing. So I'm going to really try and aim this at that marketplace and talk you through what we're going to try and do. And I've produced this one to start with on the laser, because the laser is 220,000 in the world. They are by and large the most popular sailing dinghy in the world, and they're celebrating 50 years of existence since they were designed by Bruce Kirby back in 1971 on the back of literally a fag packet. But they're brilliant, but there's a lot of things to look out for, and obviously as there's 50 years of them, actually there's quite a bit of variation from the sort of very old one to the very new one. So we're looking at a price range ranging from £400 all the way through to about £4,500 for a year old, 18-month-old second-hand boat. So a lot of things to talk about there. And the first thing I want to do when I turn up to look at any boat that you think about buying is check it actually is what it says in the advert. And the crucial thing, which we'll show you in a still any second now, is the plaque at the back of the cockpit. That actually gives the number of the boat. Frequently, too frequently, I've come across people that have actually made a bad buy because the number on the sail doesn't necessarily correspond with the number of the boat. People have bought a second-hand sail and used it on the boat, and then they think that is the sail number. I had a really sad case of a lady I met that she sent the boat in for us to be repaired, and we were doing an insurance claim, and she thought it was 168,000 number, and I had to actually turn around to her and tell her it was actually 124,000 number. Why is that important? Well, in actual fact, there's probably 15 years difference in the age, but far more importantly, there's actually over £1,000 worth in the value of the boat, and she had paid ridiculously over the odds for a very old boat. So checking the plaque, the first thing you do, check that that is the actual number of the boat. If they're really old, they're under 100,000, so we're talking 1970s, 1980 built boat, the number will be underneath this fitting at the front. It will be engraved on the front. Very difficult to show. So if there isn't a plaque at the back of the cockpit, go and look there. The next thing I would do, as soon as I've turned off, is I'll get a bucket of water, and this thing is very odd, and actually literally fill up the mast deck. Right to the very top. And why is that? This is actually 142,000 boat. It's a 1980s. It was built in 1990. It's 30 years old. Very old lasers suffer from actually the mast grinding the bottom of the mast pot, so that they eventually actually leak at the bottom, and water gets inside the boat. And that isn't really a clever idea all the way around, both in terms of actually having extra weight getting into the boat, but in terms of safety. So the first thing to do, pour water into there, and whilst you're going around checking the rest of the boat, just leave it, make sure you know exactly what level it was, and come back to it in about 10 to 15 minutes, as we will do here. The second immediate thing I would do is go to where the helm actually sits, here, and press down properly. Put your weight through your hand. Okay, this is a good deck. It's actually stayed nice and firm. But in actual fact, frequently, because particularly on older boats, the person sailing the boat lands heavily on here. Eventually what will actually happen is this deck starts to delaminate, so the glass fibre layers start coming apart, and they will flex, and you can make them move by putting pressure like this down on here. And the other thing is, you will start seeing cracking appearing along here. And again, very simply, if you get that, if you can actually make it move, and you can actually sometimes actually hear it, walk away. Don't buy the boat. In actual fact, if it came into us, the only way to fix it is to actually cut a big hole in the bottom of the boat, get access to the underside of this deck, and re-glass fibre it. But we're talking about £500 to £600 worth of cost straight away. So if you're buying a boat that's only £800 second-hand value, and you're going to go and spend 600 quid on it, forget it. Walk away, put that money towards a better boat. So that's the first again, saves your time. Look along here, cracking. The next thing to do is look along in here, which when the laser was designed, they didn't actually expect it to be sailed as hard as it is. And when we taught to rotate them properly, when we roll the boat right over, the helm pushes off his feet against the side of here. And basically this means you get flexing and cracking down here. Not such a big disaster. It is much more fixable and easy to sort out. But again, you want that reflected in the price of the boat. Okay, this is quite normal for a 30-year-old boat. There's clearly been some knocks on the boat and they've attempted to do some repairs, but they've done it with gel coat or some filler that is not the Russian colour, so the repairs stand out. But looking at this and running my hand across here, there's no damage. This is quite strong, it feels, and it's properly done. Be prepared when you're looking at something like this, a 30-year-old boat, it's probably only £1,000 value to see this sort of thing. If you don't want to have this sort of cosmetic damage, be prepared to spend more money on the boat, because you probably have to start going up to £1,500 to £2,000 to avoid actually having this sort of damage. Here beside the launching trolley, this actually is a good launching trolley. It's galvanised, so the alloy's been treated and dipped to protect it so it won't rust. It's got good wheels on it, which is again a good bonus. It's a properly designed trolley for the laser, so it's what's called gunnel hung support. So in actual fact, the boat sits on these pads on the trolley in the gunnel well, but I can immediately see here there is damage. Okay, this would immediately make me a little bit worried about it. It's completely repairable, but again the cost of fixing it should be reflected in the price of the boat. But I would want to look at this much more closely, and which we'll go on to next, which includes turning the boat over, and we'll come on to that now. Okay, now we've turned the boat actually over, and actually my concern is completely justified, in so much as, and this is very common on Oda lasers, what is called the deck to hull joint is actually broken open here. They build the boat in two halves, so they actually build the hull in one mode and the deck and the cockpit in a separate mode, and then they put the two bits together and they join it together, bonded all the way around the entire boat on what's called a deck to hull joint. This is really bad. If this will leak, boat will leak very badly. In fact, the joint opening here is so bad, it is a real safety issue. I would not touch this boat as it stands with a barge pole. Okay, we could actually rectify this. You can come to us and we can rectify this, no problem at all. The other side is exactly the same, but you're looking at a price of about £200 to fix both sides. That's fine if it's reflected in the price of the boat. So it's again, this is why you want to inspect. But you definitely do not want to try and do sail this boat like this, and you do not want to try and bodge it. So if the person trying to sell it to you goes, oh, I can just do a quick, simple repair on it. I'll just inject some stuff into there. Don't let him. You know, again, get it reflected in the price, or increase the budget you want to spend. Okay. Once we've also got the boat upside down, it's a good chance to actually check over some other quick fundamentals. Gives you a good chance to actually really look down inside the centreboard case. It is actually pretty unusual, much less likely than people actually think, that there is actually damage on the inside of the centreboard case. But you can actually see it, and you're just simply looking to see if there's actually a hole. Frequently there will be damage right at the very front here. Exactly this one, they've run aground or not been quick enough to get the centreboard up when they're coming ashore, and it's just chipped there. That isn't an issue at all. On this sort of age boat and this sort of value, that's the sort of thing you're going to have to put up with. Also, this boat is very, very dirty, but we've just cleaned this area, and in actual fact, what is evident quite quickly is there isn't actually any big digs. There's a lot of scratches on the boat, but only literally what you would expect to see on a boat that's this old and it's been used. If you're looking for it, and this sort of thing is purely cosmetic, it's not going to cause any harm to the boat. These even deep scratches, the boat can stay like that for another 20 years. There's going to be no water ingress whatsoever. The boat is not going to deteriorate. it is more a cosmetic thing for us. But if we actually are seriously looking to get a boat with a lot less scratches in, you're going to have to increase your budget or be extremely lucky. Quick check of the self-bailer here, and the self-bailer I can see is broken straight away. The actual chute is gone. They're not the most expensive thing to buy. I think a brand new one's about £25. One screw, easy to do, but again, you will want that rectified and probably reflected in the price of the boat. Very common when coming ashore, particularly getting the boat on and off the launching trolley, is you grind the bottom of the boat. So I would always want to look at the transom area here, and again, this is actually something that I would be slightly concerned about, in so much as that all the gel coat's been ground off and you've got exposed glass fibre. Then that is the sort of thing that you would want to tackle before going sailing the boat. This luckily is a very simple repair, and you could actually, as a keen amateur, do it yourself. But again, if I was looking at a much newer boat, it's not the sort of thing I would expect to see. On an older boat like this, so say it's a 30-year-old boat, I would still want to get it sort of slightly fixed before I went sailing. It's a quite straightforward repair with us. But again, gives you a bit of bartering factor when you're talking about the price of the boat with somebody. And the other very common area we're going to talk about is the bow. Lasers are so prone to actually getting damaged on the bow. If you accidentally hit another boat, you will likely see damage on here. Jetties are notoriously bad for lasers. You're trying to come into a club jetty, trying to and get out of the boat without getting your feet wet. Get it wrong, you hit there. Coming in, even recovering the boat onto your launcher trolley is a tricky issue. And again, this one's actually good. This bow here is actually rock solid. It's good, no problem at all. Don't mind about the scuff marks. You could polish those out. You could, no problem at all. But I would definitely want to have a good look at this area. And again, if there's any damage here in particular, you can poke your finger into it and actually make it slightly move. That's not a good sign. Final look at the bow, and this is a very classic laser bow damage. Probably just actually had a couple of accidental bits of damage. Very likely hit the jetty as it's come in. And as you can see, you've got all the gel's been knocked off. There's been quite a few repairs here in the past that haven't worked too well. To fix this, we would actually blast off all this gel, all the old stuff, bigger band, glass fibre across it, and then we would just put new gel onto here, and it would look as good as new. That's not quite, again, I don't like the exposed nature of this glass fibre. I would definitely want to get that fixed before I went sailing with it. And again, it's a bit of a question of what the person's asking for the price of the boat. But that's where we come on to it. In actual fact, the great thing about lasers is it's a bit like a car with them. The second you actually take it out of the showroom, put the number on it and put it on the water, literally the first time you put it on the water, you knock about £1,000 to £1,500 of price off the value of the boat. After that, the depreciation rate is an extremely shallow graph. So in actual fact, the great thing there is once you buy a boat, you look after it, it's still going to be worth quite a reasonable amount of money in 3 or 4 years' time. So you're not losing out that much. But again, it's very important that you actually check the actual marketplace and understand how the prices vary according to the numbers, and that will include what exact package comes with it. And we'll get into this a bit now. And this one actually is a good because it's actually got what's called the XD control fittings on the deck, which is good value. When this boat was built, this would have been included. They didn't actually come into existence for about another 20 years after this boat was built. So they've retrofitted this, and it's extremely good. So in actual fact, that is helping with the value of the boat. But as I said, with a 140,000 number boat, maximum you would expect to pay for this boat complete is about £1,200, even with these bits on. In actual fact, with all the problems that this boat has actually got, you're more looking like 700 quid. If it's any more than that, don't buy it. Go and spend your time looking around.